You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. LSU was on the practice field Wednesday. First media availability. Also, first time we've had the opportunity to speak to Brian Kelly in spring. We'll get the full media will have full access to practice on Saturday. Of note, Brian Kelly did give an update on both Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks. Remember, of course, Perk with the torn ACL, Whit with the broken leg in the bowl game. Here was what BK had to say on the timeline for the two.
They're both moving around. They're very active in our progression of their rehab. They're both going to be ready for our June training and fully cleared. So, that gives them the whole month of June and July prior to coming into camp. So they'll have no restrictions going into camp. So we feel really good about it.
Our old buddy Mike Detillier had the best line ever. Practice, as he would say, is for the unskilled. I don't need Whit Weeks in spring. I don't need Harold Perkins in spring. I don't even need him in fall camp. All I need is for those two dudes ready to be freak shows unleashed at Clemson on August the 30th. So the fact that they're trending in this direction is really good. Our friends over at WBRZ had some video of the limp, the lame, and the lazy, as Hall of Fame coach Dale Weiner would say back in the day at Catholic High. All the guys that are injured, going through a little bit of rehab work on the side. Whit was there as well, as was Tank. Remember Jacobian Guillory coming off a ruptured Achilles. Here was the update on Jacobian Guillory.
Guillory's made really good progress the last probably 2 or 3 weeks. He was probably a little bit behind, but he's made some really good progress. He'll be in a position to be fully cleared too for our June, and I think that's what we're looking at with the injuries that we have. Are they fully cleared for your June 1st strength and conditioning?
And then you get physically right. And the Guillory piece is a big one because of Kyle Williams. Of course, Kyle Williams, LSU's former All-American, now new defensive line coach, out there for spring for the first time. And it's very interesting because we've talked a lot about the Kyle Williams hire here. And for a lot of reasons that are obvious. We all love the idea of bringing Kyle Williams here. And I have just tried to represent both sides of this conversation evenly. Kyle Williams was an All-American. He's from Louisiana. He played on a national championship team, 13 years in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowler. He has done everything all of these defensive linemen want to do and aspire to be. He loves LSU. He's coached high school football in the state the last 5 years. He's coached Ahmad Bro, who's currently a defensive lineman on the LSU team, not to mention Aiden Anding, who's coming in. There's a lot of things that make sense. He's also never coached in college before. And so it is a big risk. But Brian Kelly talked about bringing Kyle Williams, first of all, in his open, before he was asked any questions, talked about bringing Kyle Williams here.
He'll be, as you know, coaching our interior defensive line. I think it's well chronicled his playing career here at LSU, and then 6-time Pro Bowler, 13 years in the NFL. Certainly brings an impressive resume to the position, and just quality individual, high character, and somebody that really is who you want recruiting student athletes here to LSU. So really excited about his addition to our staff.
So Brian Kelly excited about him, and it's what you'd expect him to say. But I think the other answer about Kyle Williams, when he was asked about stability, is probably a little more telling, considering Kyle Williams is now the 9th defensive line coach at LSU since 2020.
We certainly have a group that we want to feel as though there's going to be some continuity at the position. I will say that was part of, ultimately, when we looked at the candidates, it wasn't, hey, you got to stay here for, 10 years. But we had that as part of, our process. Like, we were looking for some continuity at the position, and Kyle was looking to settle in. And so that was an attractive match for us from that perspective.
I would love to see that work. The other part of Kyle Williams' life. Kyle will have a chance to talk on the record, I'm sure, at some point. But like we talked about when he was hired, this guy who's got daughters who are playing elite-level soccer, and one of the reasons I was told that he was stepping away from Ruston as a coach was to spend more time watching his daughters play soccer, to be with his family. His wife had five children. I mean, this is going the other direction. So, but if this is what he wants to do and be at LSU and provide stability there and coach the defensive linemen, I will say, again, I believe in this era of rev share, NIL, portal, your technical ability as a coach is more important than your ability to recruit. Ohio State just won a national championship with Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. Chip Kelly left his job as a head coach because he didn't want to recruit and deal with it anymore. He just wanted to coach football. I do believe, I mean, how many examples do we need to give you? Jakeem Stewart, Bryce Underwood, Cade Phillips. There's 3 from this class. Guys that were going to be in your class that you lost because of NIL. Okay. The recruiting piece, I think, is less important than ever. It's when you get guys here, develop them. If Kyle Williams can do that, I think this will be a home run hire. One other thing that Kelly said that was interesting, while we are going to focus a lot on the transfers, the early enrollee freshmen, I think, have an opportunity when you show up here in spring. It just gives you a springboard. Like we've talked about DJ Pickett, right? He went through a dozen bowl practices, and now he's going to go through 15 spring practices, June workouts, then he's going to go through fall camp. By the time you get to the Clemson game, he will have been at LSU almost a year. It ain't going to feel like a freshman. Harlem Berry's another one that we're keeping an eye on. Everyone's pumped about Caden Durham, and I know Caleb Jackson's back for his 3rd year in Baton Rouge. But Harlem Berry's a 5-star, number 1 running back in the country, and Brian Kelly kind of gave some early thoughts on the 5-star freshman.
I'm pleased with some of the little things that you need to see from a running back. And that is, for example, we run a lot of inside run drill. And that requires you've got to hit it up inside and you got to slog it away. And 3 or 4 yards is a good run. A touchdown was a good run in high school for him. And so you don't know how these guys handle that, right? He really clearly understands the running back position is one where sometimes a 3-yard run is a really good run. Today, for example, he had a chance to maybe bounce a play where he really crammed it inside and took the 3 or 4 yards, and it was the right read. You really don't coach those things. You just have a knack for them or you don't. And so those early indications are really positive. He's got to keep building in the weight room. He's got to build a coat of armor. He's got to get stronger. But it's a nice thing to see when you don't have to coach every aspect of a particular player, and that's Harlem Berry.
You love to hear that. The early returns on a guy that's a 5-star freshman that's got a ton of expectation on him. Full practice availability on Saturday for the media. I'll be out there, watch the whole practice, certainly report what we see. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.